city that will sign the GDC, and it will be Utrecht. As you can see, a very good and coverage of cities across Europe that have committed themselves to work for the deployment of ICT, not only efficiency but also for their citizens and their smart city development. And a little like this, as you can see, and of course you will get this presentation and to download these documents. First of all, 2016 started with an updated text for the digital charter, of course trying to make it up to date with regard to the technology or what are the objectives of cities. Also the first implementation monitoring report, reporting what they are doing, how they are doing, what are their objectives and targets. First collection of case studies, almost 35 projects, a very interesting one with all the contact persons you want to speak and see what they are doing, how and why. You can see the link for the first webinar that we organized about digital strategies. In the link you can find the recording on all the presentations, and of course after today we will also put a link for today's webinar where you can find the recording of the webinar plus the presentations. So, after this very short introduction, I would like to invite Christophe to start and moderate this webinar about standards. Very much.
Thank you, Klaus. So, I try to show my screen. I don't know if everybody can see the screen. For you?
Not
yet. Okay. What did you do? I forgot to do something, or?
Quick stop share screen.
Not share screen. You're right. Thank God. You're best.
No.
So you're showing your screen now. He's telling me, so it should be days.
Yeah.
Let's speak about the agenda. So we had a quick use about guidance with Klaus, and then I will try to talk to you about a state of the art on the development of common standards and of application through ETSI KPI pre-standardization process. We launched the 1 month before. They will leave Bart speak about his project and outcome of ESPRESSO project, and it will be John who will speak about SSC, Smart Cities and Communities Coordination Group, and ANEC is the representative. So, I would need to explain why we decided during the last KSF meeting in Rome in October, November, I don't remember, the last year, to create a standardization group for EUROCITIES participants. So we in October that standardization and interoperability issues were more and more important and even vital for cities in order to build the Smart Cities project. So that was the reason we decided to create this group, and we had the first meeting in January. And during this meeting, we tried to the themes and as we would like to express through this group. And to begin, I will have to speak about definitions, because standards must be familiar for some of you, but it may be also something more difficult to understand for others. Standards are technical interface specifications defining requirements for products, for product processes, or services or test methods. So it's a wide perimeter. Most of the specifications are voluntary by industry and market actor, following some basic principles such as consensus, openness, and non-discrimination. Ensure integrity and safety, reduce costs. That's very important for the cities. We all know that budgets for cities are a lot, dramatically. Eliminate vendor lock-in and facilitate countries' integration in the value chain and trade. European standards are under the responsibility of the European standardization organizations. So we're talking about CEN-CENELEC and ETSI for Europe, and can be used to support European legislation and policies. Let's talk about standard organizations. First, we have digital standards. Hope it's can I say the good way to speak about the jour. So it means that it describes national and international standardization bodies. For Europe, you have CEN-CENELEC, which represents every national standardization body, like are in France, and or BSI for Brittany, and DIN for German. You have also international standards like ISO, what called the de jure standards. But with de facto standards, which are represented through IEEE and OGC, which is by Bart today, or EUROCITIES, and so on. So the important thing I would say is that international, European, and DISO standardization bodies works together. They are linked through layers or MOU, which is Memorandum of Understanding, and every standardization body works in coordination, in fact, to produce standards issues. Well, it seems important to focus on standardization actors, because independently of standardization bodies, also the MSP is a multi-stakeholder platform on ICT standardization, which is an advisory group from the European Committee. This multi-stakeholder platform is in charge of the rolling plan for ICT standardization, which gives, as it is described, a rolling plan for ICT for the European Committee. Another actor is ESPRESSO, which is European Innovation Platform, CC as smart cities and communities, which is in charge more especially of the definition of a urban platform for the European cities. The third one is the SSCC-CG, so Smart Cities and Communities Coordination Group. But I'll let John speak about this actor because he is a representative. Other others like ESPRESSO, Bart speak about ESPRESSO, S3 MOU and Urban Platform, Agile Smart Cities, which is a consortium of cities which are interested in urban platforms, FID, and its indication group, which can represent and which is in charge of to propose start from through the ETSI organization. During the last meeting in Brussels, so in January, we decided to focus on 4 topics in order not to have to address too wide perimeter and to be sure to get on the tracks. So we find the first week was smart grids and smart metering, techniques and services for smart and efficient energy use, the city environmental impact, and the intelligent transport systems. We feel it should be important to get from this working group is to identify ICT technical specifications to be able to write those specifications through the how can I say I forgot the name for it. If you can help me, a marché public procurement to write these specifications through public procurements for the cities. So that the concrete working groups, the outcomes for us is to develop a common and shared ontology, to develop a communication and dissemination plan on interoperability challenges, identify main areas of activities to work on standardization issues with national and European standardization bodies, and implement tools to share and exchange information between the working members. So, to illustrate fourth bullet of the slide, so cooperation with national and European standardization, I will just speak about the section we decided to
Christophe, you can more.
No, I don't hear anymore, Christophe.
Want me to take over? Please give me a screen. From what it looks like, his machine crashed.
Bart, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, maybe we should move to your presentation waiting for Christophe, because I say, yeah, his slides don't move, he doesn't reply, so maybe he has crashed. I mean, do you...
You can give me screen, then...
I pass you the... that you can screen, and then we wait for Christophe to be in line again.
Okay, perfect. So what I'll do is pick up... Can you see my screen? So I'll pick up from where Christophe left, in a way that we've seen how standards are to the standards organizations, both de facto and de jure. And Christophe started to talk about specific KPIs on some of the standards. What I will talk about is an action or a Horizon 2020 specifically designed to take an inventory of the standards that are used by smart or future cities. So my name is Bart de Lathouwer. I'm the ESPRESSO coordinator. I work for the Open Geospatial Consortium out of Europe, and I call you from a somewhat sunny Brussels. So we'll talk about, and this first section, the intro, is something that you know better than probably I do. The way we live, work, use and use the overall city resources will significantly. We see these changes coming up now gradually as we move along. Actually, those changes will come from innovative city solutions. These smart city solutions will be based on sophisticated information and communication services. I hope you agree with me on that one. And that these sophisticated information and communication services require a systematic approach to interoperate. Christophe indicated this earlier. Smart cities and the platforms all rely on the fact that you can exchange information too much ado or hassle. And that's all interoperability. And we achieve interoperability through use of standards. If I go back in a way that we will, the way we will interact with cities will change through use of innovative solutions. They will be based on sophisticated information and communication services, and therefore we need to be able to interoperate through the use of standards. That is what ESPRESSO is all about. ESPRESSO under Friends, also known as the SCC-03 2015. And the purpose of the ESPRESSO project is to develop a conceptual smart city information framework. It's quite some heavy words there. So what we do is based on some specific requirements gathering campaigns where we interact with cities, station organization, administrative bodies, private industry, and projects, try to identify what open standards could be when you want to deploy them in a smart city context, and or identify a baseline for interoperability between sectorial data sources as smart city platforms. And that is what we then call the conceptual smart city information framework. So we will our stakeholders, smart cities, the standardization organizations, public administration, industries, SMEs, and projects. But most important here is the cities that have smart initiatives, whatever you would call smart or future initiatives, and that we would like to know what it is exactly that you're doing and what the interoperability requirements are going to be. So, city perspective, so what, why me? You want to achieve interoperability because of the innovative solutions that come in. And as Christophe indicated earlier, is through ability we can reduce the costs because systems that you will acquire will not be specifically built for you. Hopefully will use interoperability standards and have been deployed elsewhere. We would open market for many players, because you that interoperability and avoid vendor lock-in. Again, all these issues were or benefits were raised by Christophe earlier on. So city solutions, if they adopt these scripts of interoperability and the user standards, we that they will be at forefront, even worldwide. I think Europe and Asia are far ahead of the curve when it comes to smart cities. And specifically on standardization, Europe is in a leading position. I have multiple interactions with other cities worldwide. I see this also through the OGC. And so the benefit that we have in Europe, this is a card that we can play. And the user standards and to achieve interoperability is where we can put the European cities at a worldwide one position. So, out of the ESPRESSO project, as I said, we wanted to engage with our stakeholders. And what we call the SMAC stack is a stakeholder community of smart cities that we want to engage with. And so it means, we want you to engage with us. We want us to engage with yourself. So I put here the link to the ESPRESSO project website. Has a link to our website. I will open it here for you. And so I'd like you to do, instead of listening just to my monologue here, if you could just join our SMAC Stack network. So the link, and there's a nice interactive screen here where we would like to hear from you what smart initiatives that you are planning. And tell us a bit about that initiative so that we can start looking what standard you use, what requirements that you have on standards level. Interesting here is in the project we have standardization bodies, we have ETSI on board, we have DEAN on board, we have the OGC on board, and that means that we have access to the standards developing policy procedures. Through the project, we can influence standards making. That is pretty powerful and a tool that I would invite you to use. So please sign up for our SMAC Stack and let us know what you're doing so that we can come back to you and learn and interact with you. And you interact with others yourselves and see what they're doing. So I think this is a great platform for you to enjoy. So please, the call to action here is go to this website and register for the SMAC Stack. Or what we call the bubble diagram, where we differ as to who our stakeholders are. It is what we're going to do, then the how, and then to achieve the technical goals to make that conceptual framework. This is our part of the project screen here. So that is the city of Rotterdam, Tartu in Estonia, Belava, Herzegovina, Delta Saragossa, Saarbrücken, and back to Rotterdam. So those are the ones that are in the project. These will reach out to other smart cities to learn what they're doing, so that we can gather that information as part of the conceptual framework. So, concluding, these city solutions will be based on the sophisticated information and communication services. That was the intro. And require a systematic approach for interoperability using standards. ESPRESSO gathers requirements, so that interacting with yourselves, identify which standards are used. If there are gaps with the standards, we can bring that into the standards process and express that in the conceptual smart city information framework. Or we need your input. So again, please go to the website and interact with us and let us know what you're doing, so that we engage with you on
So, and it's a very interesting presentation. Obviously, I just wanted to tell it as ESPRESSO is a very important project. They're one of the two accompanying measures in the EIP SSC. Another chance to Brussels, this accompanying measure EIP SSC. The other on project is CTKs with performance measurement. ESPRESSO is about standards. And of course, I think I can speak for both projects. We are really looking to work with cities and other projects, especially the Lighthouse projects, in order to bring these results, integrated results, to the community of cities that want to get, or are smart or want to get smarter. So I give back the floor to Chris. I think he's back reconnected to also complete his presentation. And Bart, you are the presenter again.
It's Christophe. That's fine.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Oh, you're back, Christophe. Good.
Sorry for the problem. So I was disconnected. I don't know why, but now I'm with you again. So it's that you just missed the last slide of my presentation. So I will go ahead. Try to so quick start share screen, is it? And that's fourth topic. Okay. So I don't know where the line cut, but the thing I would like to say about this slide is we wanted to have a first concrete action through the working group, the EUROCITIES KSF working group. So this proposition, the first proposal was to put the CTKs outcomes the project to the standardization bodies using the ETSI as the Sherpa and the pre-standardization operation to prove these KPIs should be the next European KPIs for smart cities and smart citizens. That's the I want to underline. Okay, that would be my conclusion. So thank you for your attention, and I just have to give the floor to John. I think so, isn't it, Nikolaos?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, okay, so just up to you now.
Well, that is classic because, of course, as you said, I will give the floor. My screen has just disappeared again. I may have to reload it all. I do apologize to everybody. I can't see it reappearing either. Let me just try. No, I'll have to crash it and have another go. I hopefully won't take long. I know what to do now. So maybe you could talk amongst yourselves while I do that.
Perhaps, Nikolaos, you should launch the slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you could do it for me, that might save some time. Yeah, I do apologise. Let me also then get the thing on my screen so I can at least see what you're showing. Bear with. Right. Okay. So, you tell me when you've got the screen there.
Okay, we're sharing the screen. We are at your front.
Slide one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody, and sorry about that. I'm also not an experienced Macintosh user, so maybe that's down to me. I'm John Ketchell. I'm representing ANEC on the Smart Cities and Communities Coordination Group. I've, however, been in standards for far too many years, actually working for ETSI and then subsequently for CEN-CENELEC. So it's a world that's familiar to me, and once you're in it, you can't get out of it. But I'm now an independent, but helping ANEC out on some of their activities, and I'll explain who ANEC is. Next, please. Next slide. Is that okay? ANEC is an independent body. It's not for profit. It's described as an Annex 3 body. Now, what that actually means is that it is representing a set of interests that are referred to in the European Standards Regulation. Europe is rather different to other parts of the globe in that it requires consumers and other interests like SMEs, like the trade unions and environmental bodies to be represented effectively in European standardization. And the 2012 legislation on the matter actually strengthened this. So ANEC is defined as the body in Europe that actually represents consumer interests. Now, why isn't that done at national level? Well, a very simple reason in the case of consumers, that whilst, of course, you have national activities and consumers in standardization in large countries, it's a bit of a challenge for smaller and newer members to provide that. So it is done at European level. ANEC has a coverage that mirrors that of CEN-CENELEC, so there are 33 countries now with national consumer organizations represented on the ANEC General Assembly. And ANEC is a partner of CEN-CENELEC by definition, but a full member of ETSI. ETSI has a direct participation approach. ANEC does a lot of things, including obvious ones like safety of toys or window blinds and so on. But in the digital society is one major current interest for ANEC, and in hoping that the standards can help not just multinationals but consumers in that respect. The work program link is there, and next slide, please. Now to the coordination group. I'll come back to ANEC and what we're doing with this in a moment, but the coordination group was established by the three bodies, CEN-CENELEC and ETSI, during 2013. The first thing to be said about it, it is not a standards body. Its participants, as said there, the members of CEN-CENELEC. Not all 33 obviously turn up, but a fair number of them do. There must be at least 12, 15. Representatives from the ETSI board, partner organizations, therefore including ANEC, and political committees that are interested, and other groups such as the CEN-CENELEC Energy Forum, and groups related to smart cities, hence EUROCITIES and so on. Next one, please. The tasks of the Smart and Sustainable Cities Group are, as it says, coordination. It's advising. It's supposed to link with cities and communities and international standards activities. Its first report during 2014 with 22 recommendations, which were fairly high level and I thought quite useful. But the group faces a lot of challenges, and the first thing is it's slow. If you have a coordination group, there's one way in which you can ensure that different standards activities, and as we've heard already, there's a lot of them, are actually better focused and trying to work towards, let's say, a common objective. The problem with smart cities, of course, is that the standards can be applicable to all sorts of different activities, and they're going on anyway. So it's a bit of a challenge to get everybody around the table. It's also a challenge then to get people to come to a group that's not actually preparing standards. They may be focused, for example, on intelligent transport standards and not willing to spend time to coordinate with standards for street furniture or electronic health, but some of those things are needed in the context of making a city smarter. The problem is international. There are too many things going on, and all the global initiatives, ISO, IEC, ITU, and there's also the joint technical committee of ISO and IEC on IT, all of those have their own smart city initiatives, and they all say, oh, let's look at standardization in that activity. Unfortunately, it's not very coordinated. It's a common problem, that, which at least in Europe we've got one coordination activity. That's all I can say. So what do citizens want out of smart cities in a standards context is to make sure that their needs are properly considered, because smart cities need to have citizen welfare at their heart. They need to offer citizens to have more effective services and a say in what they're going to be delivered. But we need, as consumers, we're all consumers and therefore citizens, transparent information about the services that we're being provided with. We need to be reassured about how our personal information is secure and that data is not being misused for commercial purposes. We need support because of the digital divide problem. It's all very well to put things on internet, but that doesn't benefit somebody without such an access, and indeed in a physical sense, because a smart city is an accessible one. So in the first report of the Smart Cities Group, we had a recommendation, which was that the European bodies draw up, I'm sorry, I forgot to say next slide, I'm now on slide 6. The recommendation that the bodies draw up in the first instance a technical report that will assess smart citizen-related standards and requirements. The idea being to try to make sure that all the existing and future technical work, standards work that is relevant to smart cities actually does take account of those, and it's not just a technology or interoperability thing, but really does something worthwhile. That's been put into the ICT rolling action plan, the multi-stakeholder group which was referred to, and we set up an activity to define the report, which has progressed slowly. We've now got at least a table of contents. Slide. I won't go into the full detail of the scope of the report, which is a bit standards jargon. Any standard has to have an initial scoping statement, but that is a description of what this report will do. I'll let you read that maybe at your leisure, and move on to slide 8. That really a more a friendly description of what the report would cover. So we want to define the citizen, we want to define those things affecting citizens' lives and their interfaces with local authorities and local services, and how they generally should be interacting with the community. So where do we go from here? Well, we have the support, we think, and we have in fact already taken it forward within ETSI human factors. Although I think this is of general interest, there isn't actually a relevant committee to do this in CEN and CENELEC, so we're proposing to table it as a work item in ETSI. The draft is already there. I don't think it's gone round yet. So we'll take it forward. I'm hoping that in that process, maybe bodies like ESPRESSO that are looking at these requirements from a completely different angle can perhaps have a good synergy with what we're trying to do from a consumer perspective. So that's my slide number 10 is really just to say thank you for listening. I hope you've A, heard and B, seen the presentation, and happy to answer any questions in what time is left for discussion.
Yeah, good job, John.
Was it visible?
Yes, it was really fine.
Thank you very much. Okay.
So, Nikolaos, I think it's a quarter to 12. We're late, but we can offer 5 minutes to discuss about all the presentations.
I think it's time to first of all to ask if there are questions and things that people would like to discuss or clarify for the three presentations. And raise the hand so that we can see who would like to ask something. Yeah, or the chat a question.
Maybe I can say something. Actually, Federica Bordeaux, Policy Advisor at EUROCITIES, and I'm coordinating the activities of the Knowledge Society from EUROCITIES. More comments. I found very interesting presentations, and I see a lot of many elements for cooperation within KSF and of course guide projects, of course, but everything is so linked at EuroCities, so we cannot really make the difference. Especially in the last presentation, I see a lot of elements for potential cooperation in the areas of government and collaborative skills, and also access to technologies working group. So it's very interesting to see the links between all the different activities within EuroCities. So, I mean, the Standards and Interoperability working group with other working groups and other areas of collaboration. And this is for me very important because at the end, we should really be able to have a fil rouge for all the activities. So, so nothing. This was my comment. Thanks for the presentation.
This is Bart. Can I make a quick comment on that? Please take an action item to some of the pointers that we've heard together, and we can stay connected. It's easy to give a presentation here online, but how do we take this further, and how can we stay connected? Is this something that EuroCities can help with? Just using the previous comment.
Yeah, Nicolas, and that's a very good question. I mean, as we see, one thing is that, and I think Christophe can confirm that, is that of course these discussions or today's webinar will feed in, but also give new input. So then group. Meeting which will take place end of April. So it's a good one. Why I say, feed in, okay, we go there, we explain to the cities that we participate what happened, for example, in the webinar, or what we have discussed with you as ESPRESSO, for example, or what we have discussed in the CEN-CENELEC group, but then also the other way around, to be real active. Of course, think to tell them, as you said, register in the ESPRESSO, for example, project website, or if please contribute to the CEN-CENELEC report, so that all these things can be brought together. For us, the moment when the working group has things, let's say, of course, the field, where people get together. Also, because then you after the end of a feedback form, of course, even webinars, because they're very practical, it's 1 hour of your time, people can gather at, in a very easy way. Give us feedback how you want to move it forward. We heard the definitions. I suppose people now learn what ESPRESSO is doing, or what CEN-CENELEC or ANEC is doing. So I suppose for the next one, people like to see examples or specific questions or things to do, or a step forward. So it's important to see what you like also to see as this step forward.
Yeah, again, but Christophe can also say something on this, in the sense that we have a series of activities already planned, as is explained in his slide, with the Standards Interoperability working group in Ketchell. So there will be a follow-up in that sense, because we have a work program. So that's also part of the activities and concrete results.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Federica. Yeah, we decided to have an exam, and it should be interesting to see how we could introduce these recommendations from Bart or from John to be part of this action plan.
Yeah, thank you. If I may, John here. I think, first of all, ANEC is, we're in touch with ESPRESSO about contributing to their network. I guess that will happen, provided that there's sufficient resource. I'm purely doing this on a voluntary basis personally, and ANEC is not financed generously for that sort of issue. But having said that, what is clearly important is that there's a better understanding of in cities as well as of the citizen requirements. I think the two are very closely related. I think the more you can do in your projects to bring cities into the picture, it will be absolutely vital, because I don't believe for one moment that most cities actually do understand what is even meant by standardization, and even they're at the mercy sometimes with IT solutions of, shall we say, non-interoperable or purely and simply commercial things that don't always work, and so on. So there's a lot to be done, I think, to improve awareness in cities about standardization.
That's the reason of the creation of the working group.
Yeah.
That was the first reason, because we had to can I say, to work up. To keep citizen-centric and not industrial-centric. we had many examples of cities which were built on can I say industrial or solutions. So like Barcelona, for example, which is today a smart city with sets of ICTs developed at scale. It's but not, and it's not obvious to ensure the it's not easy to break the silos now. That's a conclusion I could have through the discussions with guys from Barcelona. But we to have online someone from Barcelona. I don't know if he could connect finally.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, thank you.
Fine. So perhaps you can explain also what sort of issues you have to share with us. Or
what you said is really it's true. So in the smart city, let's say, movement, we are talking always about the transversality, about the global view, but
the holistic view, the famous holistic view.
The holistic view, but the societies, organizations don't work on that way. So people are experts in a specific area. So it's they are no experts of everything. So an expert of everything is an expert of nothing. It's a mention of the SMT should provide an infrastructure for experts to work on its area of expertise, but taking into account the information that they need to do better their job. But never, we cannot, let's say, replace the experts with ICT and with a global view and no more. So we should use those platforms as tools for experts. Expert has been always there. So we have to take this approach. This is my view.
I'm all right. The first outcome of the working group is to raise awareness for this of the importance of interoperability outcomes, interoperability issues. That outcome, the first objective we should have for the working group. Opinion. Will you add something or?
No, I thought it was an interesting. I don't know. Now, all you have to say again is that, of course, we are not trying to be another standardization organization. As John said, there are plenty out there, so there is no need to another one. But it's important, as Bart said, that something concrete in making sure that all this information is shared among the people and judging the list of people that connected today in this webinar. There is a critical mass of experts and city representatives that want to be or are interested in these topics. So one is to be sure that the information that is produced written, but also that they can have the option to give input and feedback to the projects or the organizations that produce this information. Because sometimes, and that problem we see many times, we don't know, standards for cities or things for cities, and cities or other stakeholders are not part of the making or the content development, etc., etc. And that's always a very situation. If I know if someone else also wants to add something, or I don't see the chat. As we said, end of 27-29, when the next Knowledge Society Forum meeting and the next working group on standards and interoperability, everybody is welcome to, of course, to attend and contribute to the discussions. Of course, a webinar, but we're going to try to do things also through webinars. We're going to try to do things with Christophe, with Bart, with John, with all people that are interested to work together and do something. ESPRESSO is a very good opportunity to this end because, of course, it's a dedicated project to standards. I don't know if you want to add something, or we should close it here. But maybe something last word or something to say.
Well, if this is hard, if I don't remember from the people online, is where are standards for smart cities, to register Smart SMACSAC so that you can learn from others what they're using. But the most important thing is just be aware of standards and the richness that interoperability can bring to your city. Just the awareness of it.
That's a useful comment. I mean, but we need to be practical and very clear why standards and interoperability are so important. Yeah, especially in the frame of all this new technology that's coming in the cities.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we can end for today.
Yeah, we can conclude. Yes, of course.
Perfect.
To say that, remember, the 26th and the 27th of April, we have the KSF meeting in Rennes, as you said before.
7 to 29.
Sorry, excuse me for the mistake. I'm wrong. So 27th to 9th. And that we should now find practical issues to aware people that effectively it's important to be interested in standardization bodies. If we are not about to create standards, it is not that we would like to do, and we are not able to do. But we must be. What I wanted to say to conclude the thing, and we should find some practical issues, like even for the public procurement, some practical examples like the boys, the troubles we had with the boys in Bordeaux, for example. But you should have also many examples like this to make understand that it's important to be aware of what is arising through standardization. Okay.
Okay. So last but not least, of course, to welcome the three speakers today, Christophe, John, and Bart. Thank you very much for your very useful presentations and very complete presentations. And everybody that joined today the webinar, and I hope that you found it useful, and that through your feedback you will give us the direction where you want it to go in the next, this discussion where you want it to go in the next month. So that's
just Nikolaos, is there a contact point to ask for other questions? Who would be the contact point?
I'll send the email, and then anybody that wants anything, as a follow-up, they can contact us, and we can forward whatever material or questions.
Okay.
Okay. So,
thank you, Klaus.
Thank you for organizing.
Thank you, Bart.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Christophe. Bye-bye.
Bye.